All right, now this is the back side. So just like what we talked about on the front side, we have our two formulas down here. Kites and rhombuses share one, trapezoids has its own. So we're gonna work with these to solve the back. So as we look at D right here, they give us all these numbers, but what we really need to focus on are the diagonals. So this diagonal, this green one, is gonna be 12 units. And look at the other one, this red one, it is 8 and 13, so it'll be 21 units. All I'm doing is adding up those two, those lengths to get me to the 12 for the green and the 21 for the red. So we got our kite formula, 1/2 diagonal 1. Once again, it doesn't really matter what we determine diagonal 1 and diagonal 2 as long as we figure out the entire diagonal. So 1/2 21 times 12, so we got 12 times 21, 252. So we have 1/2 252, and half of 252 is 126. So our area for this particular kite is 126 units squared, because once again, there are no units marked. So we're just gonna go ahead and give it our general units. As we work through this, really what we just really need to focus on is identifying shape, writing down formula, and plugging in what we know. So this right here is another kite. Kite's formulas are area equals 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. In this circumstance, the diagonals are given because from top to bottom, it's 1.75, and from left to right, it's 3. So the diagonals are technically given, it's just another way you could see it. So we're just gonna go plug those in. So area equals 1/2 diagonal 1, let's just call diagonal 1 3, diagonal 2 1.75. So I have 3 times 1.75. We get 5 1/4, and we're gonna take half of that. So half of 5 1/4 is 2.625. So here, area equals 1/2. 3 times 1.75 is 5 1/4, and half of that is 2.625. And we're in it in inches, so our units are inches squared. Remember, all area will be units squared. Identify shape, it's a kite. So we need to determine our diagonals. The vertical diagonal is 3 plus 3, so one of the diagonals is 6. But right now, we do not know what the length of the rest of this is. But luckily, they did provide us with enough information to figure it out. So if we see that this is 5 and this is 3, remember the diagonals of kites are perpendicular to each other, so technically we have a right triangle with a hypotenuse of 5 and one side length of 3 and a missing side length. Anytime you have two side lengths of a triangle, you can always find the third using the Pythagorean theorem. So we have x squared plus 3 squared equals 5 squared. Some of us might remember that this is one of those perfect triples, but if you don't, totally fine. X squared plus 9 equals 25. Subtract 9 from both sides. Puts us at x squared equals 16. Take the square root of both sides, and x equals 4, which means this portion of the diagonal is 4, which means the entire diagonal is 4 plus 5. So area is 1/2 diagonal 1 times diagonal 2. So the area will be 1/2. Diagonal 1 was 6, diagonal 2 is 9. 6 times 9 is 54. Half of 54 is 27. We're in meters, so we are in meters squared. So the area of this kite particularly is 127 meters squared. Down here on part G, this is a rhombus. Remember all the properties of parallelograms. Diagonals bisect each other. So if this is 9, so is this. If this is 12, so is that. So just you're gonna have to recall some of the information from the past to help us solve these. Kites and rhombuses share the same formula, so just area equals 1/2, diagonal 1, diagonal 2. So if we look at this, area equals 1/2, diagonal 1, 12 plus 12 is 24. Remember, diagonals, vertex to vertex on opposite ends. And then 9 plus 9 is 18. So we have 1/2, 24 times 18. So 24 times 18 puts us at 432. Take half of that, we're at 216. So area is equal to 1/2. Like we talked about, 24 times 18 is 432, and half of that is 216. We're in meters, so meters squared. Now, as we finish this up, I will go over almost all of the homework if we need be tomorrow, but do the best you can. 2 more examples here and we're done. Just like how I talked about in the last example, if this is 10, so is this. If this is 14, so is that. Still a rhombus, so area equals 1/2, diagonal 1, diagonal 2. 14 plus 14 makes diagonal 1 or diagonal 2, 28, and the other diagonal would be 10 plus 10, which is 20. We do the math. 28 times 20 is 560. So I have 1/2 560. Half of 560 is 280. There are no units specified here, so units squared. Last question here, a rhombus with diagonals of 14 and 10 feet. They already give us the diagonals. If you want to draw a picture, that's totally fine. Just know that that diagonal and that diagonal are 14 and 10. So area is 1/2, diagonal 1, diagonal 2. So area will be equal to 1/2, 10 times 14. 10 times 14, that add a 0 on at the end of 14, so 1/2, 140, and half of 40 is 70. They gave us feet, so our units will be feet squared. So the area of this particular rhombus is 70 feet squared. So your homework is what you picked up alongside with this on the way in. We'll go over it tomorrow. Any questions, we'll handle those. All right, have a good day.